Hey, it's Sadie. I wanted to make this video. This is more like a vlog post, like just thoughts and I don't know. My guides are always telling me to talk more, which is crazy because I'm like, I talk so much already. And they're like, no, you need to talk more and you need to share more like personal stuff. So this is not a topic I usually talk about, but we're going to talk about this hurricane. Right. So I live in Southeast Florida, currently in between like St. Lucie County and Palm Beach County. And as soon as the storm started to come this way, and they said it was going to come, so this was like 2 or 3 days ago, I started feeling anxiety. And I usually don't feel that about storms. But this one was different. So I knew it was going to like impact my area. The models are still showing it hitting the Tampa area, which again, they don't need because they just went through Hurricane Helene. And the storm surge is expected to be absolutely insane. But the way the storm is moving and going across the state has me a bit concerned because of Lake Okeechobee. So if you look at the Florida Peninsula, there's like a little body of water kind of in the middle of the state. It's called Lake Okeechobee. I'm on the other side of Lake Okeechobee. So Lake Okeechobee is west of me, and the storm is expected to make landfall tomorrow night sometime west, so on the west coast in Tampa. But then it looks like it's going to go clear across the state. So there's going to be millions and millions of people who are going to be impacted by the storm. But the things my guides were reminding me is it's never the storm, it's the aftermath. That's always the issue. So for me, myself, I'm not concerned about my safety or concerned that the storm is going to decimate the area that I'm in. What does concern me, though, is that we've been getting constant rain since this weekend. And so there's already a lot of flooding. And so the water is going to be very, very high, and there's going to be a lot of flooding. But again, talking about the aftermath of the storm, I remember, I've lived in Florida. I'm 42 years old. And so I've lived in Florida since I was 6 years old, off and on since I was 6 years old. So I've been here like at least 36 of my 42 years, or 34, 35 of my 42 years on this planet, Earth side, in this state. And I've lived through a lot of storms. I've been in a lot of storms. I think the first big storm that I was in, and we were in Miami, we were north of Miami at the time, but Hurricane Andrew, which was like a monster storm, the destruction was just absolutely insane. Nothing that people had seen before at that time. That was Homestead, South Miami, that it hit. And, I've been through a lot of storms. We live in Florida, like, hurricane season's like more than half the year now. So we're always kind of anxiously anticipating something coming. But I remember in 2004, so it was the year my son was born. I had just had him the end of July. And we had like 2 back-to-back hurricanes, Frances and Jean. And they weren't big storms. I think Frances was like a category 1 and Jean maybe hit as a category 2. Like they were not massive storms. But the issue with the storms was when Frances hit, it dropped a lot of rain and it was a very slow moving storm. And so we just got pounded with tons of rain and tons of water, and everything was flooded, kind of like it is now. And then Jean hit, and it just, like the infrastructure really couldn't support 2 storms in such close proximity. I think they came like 2 to 3 weeks apart, you know? And I remember, we had power outage, there was flooding. It wasn't terrible for us in our area, right? Where we were living at the time. And I had like basically a newborn baby. It was maybe like a month old, 2 months old at the latest. But I remember afterwards, because the electricity was down, like you couldn't take money out of the ATM. You couldn't get money out of the bank. Roads were crazy because none of the traffic lights worked. I remember going to Publix and was like, okay, I'll just get, some bread and a couple non-perishable things. And there was nothing. When I say nothing on the aisle for bread, for peanut butter, for like chips, like there was nothing. There was hardly any canned food items. Like it was something that I had never seen and experienced before in my life. And that's when kind of the panic at that time set in, because it was the reality of like, there's no food, there's no water, and we have to kind of figure out how to survive. And luckily at that time, we had some really great neighbors. And my son's father, had a really good friend who had a bunch of food, and his power was out too. So he kind of had like a party and like grilled all this food. And so like we ate for days. And we had a lot of fun in that chaotic time. But it really made me realize, like, and spiritually too, it's kind of like a metaphor for everything in life. It's not necessarily the event that takes place. It's not the tower. It's not the terrible thing that you wish didn't happen. It's the aftermath. It's the cleanup. It's the having to put everything back together. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes the destruction and the damage that's done is beyond repair. And I'm not saying this to bring any fear, but there's this ominous energy in the air. It is, October, Halloween month. There's always kind of like a darker, more sinister, more ominous energy. And we're just in a very interesting time. And so why I wanted to share this today is just because I think, today was eerily, like this evening when I was driving around, was eerily calm, like the calm before the storm, But again, it's not the storm itself. It's always the aftermath. That's the worst part. And I feel like collectively, I don't just mean collectively the Awakening Collective or this community. I mean collectively the world. I think we're going into a space that's going to get, my guide said it's going to get messier. It's going to get harder. And we all kind of need to prepare ourselves for the aftermath of whatever takes place. What they're saying right now, though, is like, we are prepared more than we think. Especially those who've been on this spiritual journey, like you've been through towers, you've been through catastrophes, and you've survived them. And so that is your superpower. But also just trusting your inner guidance and listening to your inner voice always, no matter what the crowd is doing. Listen to what your heart and soul are telling you to do is the most important thing to remember, regardless of what may take place on this planet in the next coming days or months. There's a lot of change. I can feel the change for myself personally, but I can feel sweeping change for this planet. And not just the shift of timelines, where I do believe that there is a shift in timelines. I do believe there is an ascension timeline and a descension timeline. I've been talking about this, not a lot, but I have been talking about this on this channel for about 2 years now, I believe. But beyond the ascension timeline and the descension timeline, there's just a lot of other things that are going to come to pass and change for the way we live life. I think 2020, everything that took place in 2020 was a big preview for how things could be, you know? And again, I'm not saying that to elicit any fear. If you feel afraid of this message, turn it off, don't watch it. Because staying in a neutral space where you're not afraid, and you know that God and Spirit are supporting you, and you know that you'll always have what you need, that's very important right now. But going back to the storm, my intuition is telling me that it's going to cross over the state. It's going to go over Lake Okeechobee. That is where it will rebuild or pick up strength. It's going to be a very destructive force. The energy is an energy of destruction, a sweeping destruction. I fear the water is going to be an issue as well, especially because in Lake Okeechobee, I remember when my dad used to take me there when I was a kid. He used to be an avid fisherman. He fished everywhere, anywhere he could fish on the ocean. And we'd go on big boats, drift boats. We'd go on the lake. He'd go on the lake. He'd fish off of piers, wherever he could fish. He really enjoyed it. But I remember he used to take me there, and there were dams that held the water in. And so I guess I have to be careful when I say this. So for entertainment purposes only, my opinion, not fact, my intuition, there could be some issues with that, with this storm, which would kind of bring devastation to areas like Pahokee and Okeechobee County, parts of Palm Beach County, parts of St. Lucie County and Martin County, because we all surround that lake. Similarly to what happened with Helene in North Carolina. Again, I definitely am not manifesting that, but I'm feeling it's a potential. There's going to be other things too, with storm surge, with power outages, with the already debris in that area of Florida, causing problems, wreaking havoc. And then, you know, a lot of people are stuck. So I've been hearing a lot of people online say, you know, get out, get out. But what they don't understand is even people who want to leave may not be able to leave because of money and resources. Like the flights have tripled, quadrupled. Flights to, I think the only airline or the only airport locally that's flying out right now of Florida is Fort Lauderdale International. And like flights that were $200, $300 on Monday are now $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. So people can't go. All the hotels are booked, and like the hotels and the Airbnbs, it's crazy because again, the price gouging, the pricing, the greed of people during times like this to kind of make a profit is just absolutely disgusting to me, but it's happening. You know, hotels that were normally like, you know, cheap hotels, like dirty, dingy, bad hotels that have bed bugs and all different kinds of crap, that are usually like $120 to $150 a night are now like $300 to $400 a night. Like it's insane what's happening. So people are really like having to batten down the hatches and like prepare for the storm. And it's a lot of people because it's a widespread area that's going to be impacted. And so what my guides were telling me to do last night and what I've been doing consistently is just visualizing the state of Florida and just covering the state of Florida in a protective white light shield, praying for the most minimal damage, praying for the least loss of life, and praying for the protection of everyone and the discernment of everyone. And so as light workers, as healers, as way showers, we have a lot of power to shift events. You know, something my guides are always telling me, the higher the vibration, the higher the timeline. And so when you're holding a vibration of love and peace and protection and wanting the best and wanting everybody to be safe, that does give extra protection. It is like a protective seal over the state, over people. Start using this for yourselves as well. I mean, in any area of your life, your car, your home, your children, your family, just a bubble of white light, that you are safe and secure, that you are protected, that you are divinely guided, that you are in the highest vibration that you can hold, aligned to the vibrations of peace and ease. And as I'm saying that, my crown chakra is like, ooh, because it helps. It really, really, really does help. Because I don't think this storm is going to be the only thing that takes place this year. I think there's other events that are going to take place. And again, you have a lot of power to change outcomes, to have a higher outcome, to create the outcome that you want. Obviously, there's people who aren't going to listen. There's people who want to flirt with disaster, is what my guides are saying. You know, it is definitely F around and find out season, just karmically. So be mindful of that and be careful and choose wisely. And I'm not laughing because of pain or destruction that's coming. Like I actually feel a lot of grief and I feel a lot of compassion, but I'm laughing because it's like, you know, just, you know, don't be stupid, like for yourselves, and just don't be stupid. Don't do stupid things. Protect yourself, protect your family, surround them with white light, surround yourself with white light. Surround the state of Florida with white light. Surround your area, your community with white light. What else did I want to say? The other thing that's important to remember is that storms do come to clear the path. As much of a destructive force that they are, they also can kind of bring awareness to things that need to change, policies that need to change, infrastructure that needs to be more solid. And so storms can come to clear the path. So never be afraid of storms, literal and figurative storms that come into your life. Know that they're clearing a path. Know that they have guidance and gifts and lessons for you to learn. Sometimes the lesson is just resilience, not giving up, staying strong, choosing to move forward, choosing to survive. I'd like to be wrong about this. Again, I'm always praying, not just prayer circle, but like I go throughout my day just constantly kind of praying. I stay prayed up. And I am always praying for the world, for the best outcome for the world. And for this storm, I'm praying for the best outcome for everyone who's here and everyone who can't leave. But again, I don't ignore the ominous energy in the air, the darker energy in the air. And so just remember, it's not always the storm, it's the aftermath that's the hard part. But that you are fully equipped with everything that you need. And you will always be fully equipped with everything that you need if you are listening to your inner guidance and listening and trusting spirit. Even if you're asked to do things that don't make sense, just follow the call, listen to your intuition, listen to that inner nudge. It is your God protection system, your inner GPS. And know that not just because there's destruction, not all storms are bad. Sometimes storms come to clear the path. Sometimes they're the thing that's needed to be that tower to bring in the breakthrough. All right, I think that's it for tonight. Sending love to everyone. Take care.